Hey everyone, happy Wednesday! As always, answer your first question on your computer, answer the second question on your lines paper. Make sure you've answered it all the way. You should pause your video and don't come back until you have number 2 answered. Okay, admit it. How many of you fell for it? April Fools! Ha 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 ha! Oh, I'm so funny. You did not have to do this question. You don't know how to solve that question because that is actually 7th grade work. We are going to get to it at the end of the year, but it is not something we've learned how to do yet, although I promise you, you will know how to do it by the end of the year. You actually don't have a second PDN question for today. My wife just texted me that I'm really funny, so I think you probably agree with her on that one. Okay, let's jump right in. Yesterday we were talking about fractions and decimals and percents. We got fractions and decimals and we wrote them as percents. Today we're just going to go the opposite direction. We're going to get a percent and we have to write it as a decimal and a fraction. After we're done with that, we're going to be able to pretty much review percent problems for the rest of the week because we'll already know how to convert between the two. Okay, our directions to write the percent as a decimal and a fraction. Our first one is 44%. So this is our example. Number 1 is 44%. I need to write that as both a fraction and as a decimal. We can go in either order. I think it's easiest to probably write it as a fraction first. So 44% as a fraction. We know that all fractions are out of 100. All percents are out of 100. So 44% is just 44 out of 100. We, of course, can't leave our final answer as that. We got to simplify it. And our final answer is 11 out of 25. So that's what we'd write on our computer for the fraction part. As a decimal, 44 hundredths. Decimal is 0.44. 44 hundredths. I also could have just moved the decimal point back 2 points to get 0.44. For the second one, 113%. I'm going to start with the fraction. I know that all percents are out of 100. 113 over 100, obviously that's an improper fraction. So that's 1 and 13 over 100. That can't be simplified, so that's my final answer. Once I have that, writing the decimal is pretty straightforward. 1 and 13 hundredths. I also could have just moved my decimal 2 spots back to get 1.13, 1.13. Okay, this is probably the easiest lesson we're doing all week. It is review. Go ahead and do your practice problems now. Remember to pause your video and come back and check your answers when you're done. Okay, let's look at set 1. We started with 17%, which equals 17 over 100. That cannot be simplified. As a decimal, it's 0.17. Number 2, 20% is 20 over 100. That can be simplified to 2 over 10, which can be simplified even further, which is 1 over 5. Make sure you've written it as 1 over 5. I would not give credit for 20 over 100 because that's not in simplest form. 1 over 5 is not easy to change to a decimal, but 2 over 10 is easy to change, 0.2 for your decimal. We also could have gotten that by moving our decimal back 2 places, 0.20, which is the same as saying 0.2. Number 3, 125% is 125 over 100, which is 1 and 25 hundredths, which is 1 and 1/4. I simplified 25 over 100 to 1/4. 1 and 25 hundredths is written as 1.25, 1 and 25 hundredths. Again, I could have just moved my decimal 2 spots. Number 4, 30% is 30 over 100, which gets simplified to 3 over 10. 3/10 is 0.3. You also could have put 0.30. Both are correct answers. For the final one, 2.5%. This is probably the only tricky one on there. 2.5%. I know that all percents are out of 100. Can't have a decimal and a fraction, so I move it over once and move it over once, which gives me 25 over 1,000. I can still divide both of those by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1. 100 divided by 25 is 4, so 1,000 divided by 25 is 40. As a decimal, 25 thousandths is 0.025. Not 0.25. 0.25 would have been hundredths, but we're in thousandths. I also could have just moved my decimal over twice, 1, 2, which gives me 0.025. That's my final answer for the decimal. Make sure you've entered your answers on your computer screen. You're now ready for problem set 2. Again, if you want to pause on the screen so that you don't have to keep on going back and forth, you can write down all your problems and then solve them. Come back when you are ready to check your answers. Okay, we're back. We're ready to check our answers. First one is 89%. Before we go through the answer, extra credit alert. Wednesday, between 10 and 2, today between 10 and 2, text me a hilarious April Fool's joke that you've pulled on someone. Bonus points if you're pulling it on Miss Harris. So if you pull the April Fool's joke on Miss Harris, I will definitely give you bonus points. Remember to text it to me, 847-769-4731. Okay, 89%. Written as a fraction is 89 over 100. Written as a decimal is 0.89. That one is very straightforward. Number 2, 2% is 2 over 100, which we need to simplify to 1 over 50. If you left it as 2 over 100, you would not get full credit because that is that is not in simplest form. 2 over 100 is 0.02, not 0.2. 0.022 200ths. We could have gotten that by moving the decimal twice. Number 3, 122% is 122 over 100, which equals 1 and 22 over 100, simplified to 1 and 11 over 50. 1 and 22 100ths is 1 and 22 100ths, same as moving your decimal once, twice. Number 4, 3.5%. This was kind of like number 1 on our problem. Number 5 on problem set number 1. This is 3.5 over 100. Can't have a decimal and a fraction, so I move it once, which gives me 35 over 1,000. What goes into both of these is 5, so I get 7. 5 goes into 10 2 times, so it goes into 1,200 times. Final answer, 7 over 200. Writing that as a decimal, 35 thousandths is 0.035. 35 thousandths has to be in the thousandths place. And number 5, 0.5%. We have 0.5 over 100. Still can't have that decimal, so I move it once, which gives me 5 over 1,000. Divide both by 5, I get 1 over 200. 5 1,000ths is 0.005, because the 5 has to be in the thousandths place. I also could have just moved the decimal once, twice to get 0.005. Okay, once you've checked all those, you're ready for your exit ticket. Make sure that you put your final answers on the computer. There's technically 4 questions here because you need to write each one as a decimal and a fraction. When you finish with that, make sure you press the turn in button. I cannot grade your work unless you've turned it in. You also want to make sure that you're completing Wednesday's assignment, factor variables on Khan Academy, so that you're ready for your quiz on Friday. As always, if you have any questions, shoot me a text or give me a call, 847-769-4731. See you guys tomorrow.